Whenever it's convenient for them, the left likes to say things like, white privilege doesn't mean your life hasn't been hard. It just means that your skin color isn't one of the reasons your life has been hard. And I want to share a few things on this. Number one, if white people have just as hard of a time as non-white people, if your supposed white privilege doesn't actually shield you from suffering, then what exactly is it? And why are we so gosh darn obsessed with it? Really, if it does not objectively make your life better to be white, then why are we so obsessed with this white privilege? And again, what is it? There are many privileges in the world. There's the privilege of being born an American, the privilege of being able-bodied, the privilege of being classically beautiful, seen as attractive. And yet we don't seem quite as hung up on those privileges as we are on this supposed white privilege. What is it? And if it does not mean that your life hasn't been hard, why are we so obsessed with it? Secondly, the left doesn't actually believe that white privilege doesn't mean your life hasn't been hard. They just pull it out whenever a conservative like me points out that white people in America are struggling, or points out the fact that Black people are succeeding all around us, points out Black prosperity and Black success. Then all of a sudden they want to pretend like white privilege doesn't mean your life hasn't been hard. But they don't actually believe this, because if they did, they wouldn't constantly portray white people as wealthy and spoiled and insulated in some way. They wouldn't portray white people as having a buffer from life suffering in some way. And they also would never advocate for handing out funds on the basis of skin color. Because if you actually understand that white privilege, whatever it is, doesn't actually mean your life hasn't been hard, if you actually understand that white people are struggling just as much as non-white people, that in fact, in this country, the majority of our poor and homeless is white, because the majority of our country is still white, so that makes sense. But if you actually understand that white people struggle just as much as non-white people, then you would never advocate for handing out resources on the basis of skin color. You would never do that. The point is, nobody actually knows what white privilege is or the value that it allegedly brings to your life. There is no agreed upon and specific definition. It certainly doesn't pay your bills, but the left likes to pretend it does until they get called out, and then they temporarily stop equating white privilege with financial and economic success. Just temporarily, though. And it is kept vague for a reason. It's so that it can be whatever they want it to be, whenever they want it to be that. That is why they keep it vague. There is no accepted or agreed upon definition. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. The only people who buy the lie of white privilege, for the most part, the only people who buy the lie of white privilege are two people. Wealthy white people who erroneously attribute their soft lives to their skin color as opposed to their wealth, and struggling non-white people, obviously this country has many, who erroneously attribute their struggles to their skin color, even though those struggles are the same struggles that struggling white people have. Those are the people who buy the lie of white privilege. If you are a white person who struggles, and there are a lot of us, you understand that white privilege does not exist. You get it. You've lived it. Reject the notion, the lie of white privilege whenever you see it. Make them define it. Push back. Do not give an inch. Never, for even 1 second, buy into the lie that white people have it easier in 2024 America, because we absolutely 100% do not. White privilege is an amorphous lie that is purposefully here to divide us and to confuse us and to have us pointing the finger at the wrong people.